Okay, hi everyone. So I'm very excited today. I have a beautiful special guest with us, Sarah Taylor. And Sarah is a business coach who really believes in building a life and a business with intention. And I really love her message. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing Sarah once before on the podcast. And so I'm really excited to connect with her again and see all her beautiful musings and inspiration because she's got so much to share with us. So thank you so much for joining us, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting. It's been a long time since we've spoken.
I know.
The podcast was a few years ago now.
Yes, it has been a little while.
Yeah, amazing.
Yes. So to start off, I always just love to give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. And just to tell us about what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm doing quite a bit at the moment, actually. So we moved to our property off-grid about 7 months ago. And after spending kind of about 7 or 8 months in the US, and I've been sort of coaching one-on-one clients in small business. But we're just about to start a natural skincare business as well. So, and we're in the middle of a renovation. So, just those things. So it's been a bit busy time, but it's really rewarding. And we've actually managed to get through quite a lot during the isolation period as well, because we've been sort of in lockdown here. So we might as well make the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just have to share a little bit of background. Many reasons that I love you, but one of the main reasons that I really connected with you so many years ago was when we connected, you were doing up your beautiful van.
Yes.
And I can't remember what you called your van. I can't remember.
So it's a 68 Bedford bus, and her name is Purpose, but we call her Mrs. P for short.
Right. Mrs. P. And I really loved that you had this amazing drive and you were doing, the bus up and you wanted to go off grid and you had this amazing sort of drive for it. And now you kind of have that.
Yeah.
But obviously the universe works in amazingly different ways.
Yeah.
You met an amazing man and now you have a beautiful place a little bit off grid.
Yeah. So it sort of, when I first thought about the bus idea, it was like at a really difficult time in my life, and it was the biggest thing I'd ever dreamed. And then that's just expanded and it sort of, from the bus conversion came intentional living and intentional business, and it's just kind of gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. So she is currently in Melbourne, where we can't get her at the moment because we're in Queensland. But we're hoping to get her sometime in the next couple of months and bring her back here and finish her. So she's almost done.
Excellent. And then what's your plans with her then? Just
I know, so it totally changed, I guess, because originally she was going to be my forever home. When I got her, I was single and had been for quite a while, and I was building it by myself. And then I met my husband, and he thought buses were cool. and then we talked about tiny houses and off-grid living, and so expanded into that. So we'll use her to travel. Yeah. I will use her as my space, my office, my own sort of little space. And then we'll possibly Airbnb as well, depending on, so lots of adventure to come, I'm sure. We'll do a trip around Australia in her for sure.
Oh, absolutely. That would be so amazing. And so I know, you've had an amazing journey, obviously with the bus and with traveling and things like that. But you are also an amazing coach. And one of the things I want to ask is, how did coaching sort of come about for you? Like, what was the drive to become a coach?
I think I just really loved the idea of doing business differently. And it's kind of a bit of a geeky sort of fun thing for me to go and seek out and find others who are doing stuff very, very differently to how you're supposed to do it.
Yes.
And I just felt that there was a real gap, between mainstream marketing and what we're told we should be doing versus how I think businesses can survive and thrive and do well in the world. And so I use the 12 principles of permaculture, and that's the sort of framework that I work with in order to coach people and help, and myself. I build my own businesses around that framework as well. And so really caring for the earth, really working with people that want to help the planet as well as profit. I think there's this view that you have to kind of let go of your integrity and let go of your purpose and your values in order to be successful. And I just think there's a different way to do that. So
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
And I know that's another thing we sort of connect on, is that the big
Mm.
impact thing, like the impact that we are creating on the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Important, and especially for our children and our children's children. But like you said, having a business, or even having the success, doesn't mean that we can't have both. There's so much opportunity out there for us to create a massive impact, one that gives back to the world.
Absolutely. And equally so, I think we can thrive and give back. I think, I said this to a friend yesterday, that we all thrive when we all thrive. And I think that's really important to remember, that we don't have to sort of make it first and then we can give back. I feel like we can literally build giving back into the business model that we choose. And in sort of through my research, I found a 2,000-year-old food forest that was still feeding people. It fed about 800 farmers still to this day. And that completely shifted my whole view on legacy and what a business could be, or what anything could be that you're building. And so I talk a lot about building legacy over a lifetime, rather than this sort of overnight success that we're sort of brainwashed into thinking is possible, and look, making big money fast can happen, but it's not necessarily the commonplace thing. It's, this is about what do you want to achieve in your lifetime and what do you want to continue on afterwards.
And creating that sustainability. I've sort of fell into that trap myself of thinking,
we all do.
And it wasn't until actually just recently that I kind of went, this is the long game.
Well, if you think about what your business or your life could achieve long after you're gone, then it makes today's decisions a little bit less prickly. Like, are you really going to worry that you didn't post on Facebook every day this week, or are you going to look at the bigger picture, when you're talking 2,000 years versus
exactly. No, I love that. It does give you a lot more purpose and a lot more direction. Now I'm going to sort of take it back a little bit, and I would love to know, everyone's sort of had a turning point in their life. I know you sort of touched on before about what your turning point for Mrs. P was. But tell me a little bit more about that, your turning point. Like, what was your real turning point in your life to make you go, I want to give back more. This is what I want to do. This is my direction.
I mean, I think that evolved a little bit later. The turning point was much more about survival in the first instance. That night, it was like 5 years ago now, and it was just at the end of a really crap couple of years. I'd had sort of 4 years. I'd left a major relationship, I'd lost a couple of jobs, I'd had a back injury, a couple of other breakups in between, and it was just horrendous. And I was facing eviction because I hadn't worked for 18 months and was still recovering from my back injury. And I got back from the Centrelink office that day and realized that what they were going to give me wasn't going to even pay my rent. And so I was just sobbing, and I, was just in that horrible state of total panic, but also just, I didn't have anything left to sort of give. And the moment of like, okay, do I just swallow all these pills that I have from my pain meds and everything else and just go to sleep? Like, what's the other alternative? And my dog needed a wee. So I got up and opened the back door to let her out. And as soon as I did, bus home just like arrived in my consciousness. And I frantically Googled bus home and found it was a real thing. And I literally, I don't know where it came from. I'd never even considered anything like this before. And that was it. That was like the moment everything turned. And I wrote a to-do list that night. It was get any job, move to a house with a big enough driveway, learn to drive a bus, buy and convert a bus. And I think about 14 months later, Mrs. P was on my driveway.
Oh, amazing. So, I just had the massive goosebumps then.
Yeah.
It's funny though how sometimes we sort of get to that bottom point, and then there's just that one little thing, that one little message. And it's very it is very important. Sometimes we do get so much in the moment or in the past or in the feeling that we forget to listen to what our
Yeah.
intuition's telling us at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was nuts. It was crazy. I didn't even know how to drive a car. I'd never, I was living in a house with no driveway. It was the most ridiculous idea, but I knew it was absolutely the right thing. And from then it became, it expanded, and I found minimalism, and I found all of the things related to tiny living. And so but even that wasn't quite enough. I felt like there was more. There was a deeper thing that I wanted to do, and really it was my search for meaning. It was my search for a meaningful way to make money. It was a search to have a happy, meaningful life.
Yeah.
It was just dreadfully unhappy, and I had no idea why. And so that was my sort of journey into intentional living and helping others build a life and a world that they really, really enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And so there's a lot of amazing people listening to us right now, and they are probably at different stages of their journey, and some may be very, very much at the start of their journey, or feeling possibly a little bit lost, as we all do at some point. So what kind of advice would you give someone who is possibly just starting out or feeling a bit lost? What are some things they can do to sort of turn in and start finding their way?
I mean, I meditate. That's the way that I do it. And I spend a lot of time in nature. I think ultimately it has to come down to really spending time listening to that intuition. And even if you're not quite sure where it's coming from, is to trust it, because it's never wrong. And it's sort of like a muscle. Like the more you use it, the more accurate it becomes. And I often say to people that I work with is you're never wrong. Like that niggly feeling that you get, like if something doesn't feel right to you, like a marketing strategy or something someone said, or anything where you're just like, oh, that's right, that's true for you, and so don't ignore it. Yes. And so you might not find an alternative or a solution yet, but don't be made to feel that you're wrong in any way because you feel that way. I spent a long time thinking there was something wrong with me, because of all of the marketing that I was bombarded with, the blocks I had and the upper limits and the things that I wasn't capable of. And really it wasn't any of that. I was on a different path.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just had to find language for it.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point, because it is, especially right now, it's very noisy online, because a lot of amazing people have time to find their message, and I use the word fumbling a lot at the moment, because I remember that feeling of going, oh, I'll try this, oh, that didn't work, I'll try this, and then in the end you just feel lost and you give up.
I mean, I took a break. I've taken several breaks, and more recently they've become intentional breaks rather than I've hit burnout and I can't do this anymore. It's sort of like I've managed to kind of get there a little bit better. But I spent 6 months off business, and when I left my Facebook page for the bus conversion and was pivoting into intentional business, I went into research mode, because that's what I do, and I started collecting people and bodies of work and ideas and different ways of doing business. Like if someone was being successful and they didn't have any social media, I wanted to know who they were, and I got on their list and I read their stuff, and so I encourage people all the time to go out and seek other people who are doing things differently. It might not be the same niche, or it might not be the same business, but somebody who's just honing their own way, like just really doing things their way and not listening to the mainstream stuff that you have to. If someone says you have to do something, I'm pretty much not going to do that.
Yeah. I love that. But I think too, I remember when I first started, I felt like I had to be a certain way. I had to do what these people who are, and sometimes it was more seeming like they were successful, because a lot of the times there wasn't much success there, but it's the presence that they're bringing online. And then you fall into that trap of trying to create something that wasn't quite real in the first place.
I mean, it's the business version of keeping up with the Joneses, I think. Like, so we're not allowed to talk about, women having part-time jobs to support themselves while they build their business. We're not allowed to say that we don't want 6 figures. We're not allowed, we've got to charge our worth. I disagree. There's many things that we're told that we're supposed to do. We have to have a fancy website. We have to, I spent 2 years coaching online and pivoting and changing and doing different things. And I never once had a website. I utilized the platforms that were already there, because I was still figuring out my main message. I was still figuring out what I actually wanted to do in the world. But people, are sold all of these things that are going to make or break your business. And it's never one thing. It's always a combination of, and no one asks you what you want or what success looks like for you. So I think that's the best place to start. It's what do you need to thrive? Like, what does your family need to thrive? How much time do you want to spend with your family versus your business? These are things that you can decide on, and you can actually build your business around it. We have this idea that we've got to work 70, 80 hours a week in order to make whatever, and it's just not true.
No,
so
that's right.
It starts with self and figuring out exactly what you want. And it's okay to want those things, and then go and find a way to build your business around it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your life, and your lifestyle.
Yeah. And I think that's what it comes down to, because your business is basically an extension of you. And so
Absolutely.
if you're pretending or trying to create something that's not you.
Yes. And that's why it never works.
No, never. Yeah. And I used to get clients come to me, and they had these $5,000 websites that they got built,
that they've been promised will convert people. It's like,
they still didn't know what their message was.
Yeah. That's right.
Clients were. Yeah. And that used to break my heart.
Yeah. I spend a lot of time with people really honing in on, first of all, so in permaculture, you look at things as a whole system. So we look at what their needs are, what their desires are, where they're at, what the marketplace looks like, what they actually want to achieve, what they want to create, why, how, all of those things. And really deciding, we live off grid. I don't need 6 figures to feel like I'm earning 6 figures. I could earn, 60K and it would feel like $1 million. It depends where you are. So it's really, about, and I know loads of people that aren't on social media and have, $500,000 companies with no moving parts. It's just one guy, he has a couple of courses and he writes every week. That's it.
Yeah.
So you can do it any way you want, but it's really about making the decision for yourself, and you have to turn off all that noise.
Yeah, that's it. And just stay true to you. Whatever feels good for you is what's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Your business is an extension of your values. So if you don't know your purpose, you're not going to be able to create your message. And you should be able to pick up your purpose and your message and put it into any business, service-based or product-based. It shouldn't matter what you're making or creating. Yeah. It's the message that goes through it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, I know that you have some amazing things going on right now in the way that you are connecting with your clients. And I know that you're telling me about something special that's happening at the moment. So can you explain to the audience how they can connect with you and see what you're up to?
Yeah, the best place to do that is on my website. It's sarahtaylor.net. And jumping onto my fortnightly email list. So I write fortnightly letters of intention, and their focus is really to help you build a life and business with intention. We talk about capitalism, we talk about permaculture, we talk about, all sorts of things within the business area, and also life as well, like living with intention. So that's probably the best place to figure out what's going on and come and join the crew.
Yeah, excellent. And that's just on your website?
sarahtaylor.net.
Excellent. And I'll put that in the podcast notes as well, so people can stay connected.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so glad that we finally got to catch up again.
Like ages.
I know. And I've had a bit of a break as well. So I love that. I love your insight on that, because at first when I had the break and came back, I'm like, how does this look to people? Like,
no. I think it's one of those things that we don't talk about enough. It's like, even when you're niching as well, a lot of clients are just like, oh, I can't change. And it's like, this is part of the process. You can't, sometimes the clarity comes from the doing. It's like from thinking about what it is you want, and then nope, that's not right, or that's almost right, and you just keep going. I've had, I started as a VA, I moved to social media, I did social media strategy, I then coached social media, I then did a bit of money coaching and mindset, then it was business. It's like 8 different versions of my business sort of has gotten me over the last 3 years to this point now.
Yeah.
So
always an evolution.
Always, yeah. And I think, the Kelly Deals talks about it in terms of the Cinderella story, where we only see the before and after, and it's like this hero story, and actually it's the middle bit that no one talks about that we should be talking about. It's about recognizing the lineage of your education and the people that taught you and how you got to where you are. Like, that's the meat of it that we are told not to share, because we want to have this shiny outcome for people to crave after. Yeah.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's not me.
No. And I honestly think the insights that you can get from stepping away
Oh yeah.
and coming back is massive. And I know for me it's been very powerful, because I'm like, I got this shit. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I find it very, very hard because I'm a doer, because I'm doing a million things at once, and that's just how I like things. So to not be working towards a business felt crippling to begin with. But very, very quickly it was like things started to flow again, and ideas happened, and I was able to kind of create and build, what I thought was going to be a year off ended up being about 6 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was invaluable, the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the heart wants what the heart wants. If you've got a purpose and it's bigger than working for someone else and sort of sticking in someone else's little box, then there's no keeping you in there.
No. And that time too, right? I mean, when I was talking to you last time, I was still in my day job, and I think I went from a 9-to-5 sort of soul sucking 9-to-5 to a slightly less soul sucking 9-to-3, and then it was 5 days a week to 3 days a week, and then 3 days a week to working for myself from home. And that was like a process over about 18 months.
Yeah.
And 2 different jobs. So you can do it in stages, but that's not what people necessarily want to portray. Yeah. It's like, if that's your exit strategy, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
You're supporting yourself, your family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Especially when you've got a family, like my thoughts are always on keeping a roof and feeding my son, because he eats a lot. He's a growing boy, and sometimes it's not practical for everyone to do what everyone says. Oh yeah, you just and look, I have done it. I have just quit, but mine was more that I knew that I'd go out in a straitjacket if I didn't leave my job.
Yeah. And I've been in situations like that, and sort of built a buffer, like a 3-month buffer of my expenses, like rent and bills and things like that, before I exited. But there's many ways to do it. I think it's just not talked about enough, that that we you sort of quit your job, and then a month later you're supposed to be successful, when you don't even know what success looks like for you.
Exactly.
You're just sort of taking on somebody else's idea.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm glad that we had that bit, because I think it's so important for everyone to sort of understand that it is definitely your own personal journey.
And
whatever is good for you and your family and your lifestyle is what is best.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. It was
Thank you.
To you again.
It's so lovely to see you again.
Yes, and I'm sure we'll be connecting again soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I will put the details of your website and how our amazing audience can connect with you in the notes. And
wonderful.
I look forward to chatting to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.